Hey guys, tonight we're diving into a story about a letter that arrives on a Tuesday afternoon. A simple envelope that feels, for a second, like it holds nothing more than a bill or a junk mail flyer. But as you turn it over in your hand, you notice the cursive, a flowing, elegant script that looks like it belongs to another time. And inside, a photograph, faded at the edges, and a note addressed to your husband. You can almost feel the weight of it, the unexpected history it carries. It's the kind of thing that makes you pause, the quiet kind of moment that feels like a starting gun. You probably think you'd handle it with total grace, but I'm here to tell you, you probably wouldn't survive it. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, turn off the lights, maybe grab a pillow, and let's ease into tonight's journey together as you sit there on the worn armchair, the envelope in your hand. A quiet hum fills the room. The late afternoon sun streams through the window, catching dust motes dancing in the golden light. Your husband is at work, and the house feels still, almost holding its breath. You turn the letter over and over, the paper crisp and cool against your fingertips. It's addressed to him, but something compels you to open it. Maybe it's a gut feeling, a prickle of unease you can't quite name. Or maybe it's just the inherent curiosity that lives inside all of us. You slide a finger under the flap, and with a soft tear of paper, you break the seal on a history you didn't know existed. The handwriting is elegant, a stark contrast to the casual scribble of today's texts and emails. The paper is thick, with a faint, sweet scent, like old books and dried flowers. The note is short, a handful of lines that read, "Liam, I know this is out of the blue. It's been so long, but I saw you in a newspaper article, and I just had to reach out. I'm sorry for everything. I'm back in town for a few weeks and would love to see you, just to talk. All the old mistakes feel so small now. All my best, Alara." You read the name Alara, and it feels like a chord has been struck, a note so out of place it creates a disquieting resonance in your chest. You've never heard this name before. Never. Not in the thousands of stories he's told you. Not in the late-night conversations where you've shared everything, from your childhood fears to your hopes for the future. You always thought you knew the whole story, the full narrative of the man you chose to build your life with. But this letter, this single piece of paper, suggests there's a missing chapter, a whole book you've never been shown. It's not a feeling of anger, not yet. It's more a hollow, sinking sensation, as if the ground beneath you has shifted by a fraction of an inch. You place the letter on the coffee table, a small, innocent-looking rectangle of paper that feels disproportionately heavy. Your mind races, replaying conversations, searching for a stray mention, a hint, a subtle clue. Nothing. It's like a person has been erased from the timeline of his life. Did he forget to mention her? Or did he consciously decide to keep this part of himself hidden? The thought is a little sharp, like a sliver of glass. You sit there, the silence of the room punctuated by the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall, a rhythmic, steady beat that seems to mock the sudden turmoil in your mind. The photograph, you notice, is tucked neatly inside the note. It's a small, slightly sepia-toned picture of a young man and a woman. They're on a bench in a park, laughing. Your husband, younger, with a mop of shaggy hair and a wide, unburdened smile. He's looking at the woman with a warmth that makes your stomach clench. And the woman, this Alara, is beautiful in a natural, effortless way, her face glowing with shared joy. The picture is from a time before you, a world you can't access, and it feels strange, almost invasive, to be holding this tangible piece of their history in your hands. You feel like a stranger, a voyeur in your own life. You wonder what happened in that park, what was said, what promises were made. The photograph is a window, but a foggy one, and all you can do is press your face against it, trying to make out the details of a story that feels both intimately connected to you and completely separate. The first of many questions starts to form, a gentle whisper in the back of your mind. Who is she? That night, you lie in bed beside your husband, the letter and the photograph hidden in a drawer in the living room, feeling like a thief. He is sleeping soundly, a soft, even breath rising and falling. The familiar rhythm of his breathing, the comforting weight of his arm across you, should be a source of peace. But tonight, it feels like a painful chasm. You find yourself watching him, looking for a sign, a clue, something that might betray the secret he's been holding. The man sleeping next to you is the one you know, the one who makes you laugh until you cry, the one who brings you coffee in the morning and tucks you in at night. But is there another one, a younger version, who loved someone named Alara? You can't shake the image from the photograph, the way he looked at her. It's a look of pure, uncomplicated happiness, and you find yourself, in a moment of quiet pain, wondering if he's ever looked at you that way. The next day, you find yourself drawn to the attic, a forgotten space filled with boxes of memories. You're not consciously looking for anything in particular. You just need to be busy, to move, to do something to quiet the frantic questions in your mind. You tell yourself you're organizing, decluttering, but you know the truth. You're searching. You move past old Christmas decorations, boxes of college textbooks you swore you'd sell, and stacks of photo albums from a life that seems a million years ago. And then you see it. A small, wooden chest, tucked away in a corner, wedged behind a vintage suitcase. It's not locked. You lift the lid, and inside, tucked among some old letters tied with a faded ribbon, is a small, leather-bound book. You pull it out. It's a diary. The leather is worn, the page is thin, and the spine is cracked. It's not a journal for deep thoughts or feelings. It's more like a logbook of his life from that period. You know it's wrong to read it. A part of you, the part that believes in trust and privacy, screams to put it back. But the other part, the one that is now consumed by curiosity and a feeling of betrayal, is stronger. You sit on the dusty floor, your back against a box of forgotten dreams, and you open it to the first page. The entries are short at first, a timeline of his college life. Finished my history paper, failed my calculus midterm, met a girl named Sarah in the cafeteria, she has a great laugh. And then, a name appears that makes your breath hitch in your throat. It's not a one-time entry. It's a recurring presence, a slow and steady blossoming of a new world. Met Alara at the library. She's studying art history. Her hands are always covered in paint. The description is so vivid, so immediate. You can almost see the flecks of color on her skin. You read on, the pages becoming a blur as you fall deeper into his past. The entries get longer, more personal, filled with the kind of details that only come from a deep and intense connection. He writes about the way she smiles, a secret, knowing smile that crinkles the corners of her eyes. He writes about their late-night talks, about sitting on a rooftop, watching the city lights flicker below. You find an entry that describes their first kiss, a simple, sweet moment on a park bench. It's the same bench from the photograph. The details are so specific, so heartfelt, that it's almost like you're a ghost, sitting there with them, watching their story unfold. It's a bittersweet feeling, this intimacy. You're learning things about your husband you never knew, a history you were never a part of. But it's also a painful reminder of a time when he was someone else, a time when his world revolved around someone else. You keep reading, your heart a slow, steady drum against your ribs. The handwriting is messy in places, neat in others, reflecting his mood. The diary is a window into a past that you now feel a part of, but only as an observer. It's a history lesson, a romantic one, but also a painful one. A history of a man you thought you knew, and a love you never knew existed. You remember what I said earlier about the sunscreen made from crocodile poop? That was a joke, a way to lighten the mood. This, however, is no joke. The discovery of this diary is a moment you'll never forget, a quiet turning point in your relationship, one that started with a single, innocent-looking letter. You feel the weight of this secret, this new knowledge. It's heavy, and it's all yours for now. The next few days are a blur of half-eaten meals and restless nights. The diary becomes your constant companion, a secret world you retreat to whenever your husband isn't around. You find yourself on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, flipping through the pages, trying to piece together the narrative of his first love. You're a detective, a historian of his past, and the diary is your only source. You learn about how he and Alara met, a story that begins not with a grand gesture, but with a simple act of kindness. He had dropped a stack of books in the library, a precarious tower of history and art, and she had helped him pick them up. Her hands, he wrote, were covered in paint, a splash of red and blue on her knuckles. He was captivated by her from the start, a feeling he described as walking into a room you didn't know was there. You read about their early days, the tentative getting-to-know-you stage. They spent hours in the campus coffee shop, talking about art, philosophy, and their wildly different dreams. He, an aspiring engineer, and she, a painter who wanted to see the world. He wrote about the way she could find beauty in the mundane, a crack in the sidewalk, the peeling paint on a park bench. She challenged his logical, pragmatic worldview, forcing him to see things not just as they were, but as they could be. Their conversations were a dance, a gentle push and pull of ideas, and he was completely and utterly enthralled. You read about their dates, little adventures that seemed to fill their world with a kind of quiet magic. They'd go to local art galleries, and she would stand in front of a painting for an hour, pointing out details he never would have noticed. They'd walk for miles, just talking, the city a silent backdrop to their unfolding story. He wrote about how their worlds began to merge, how his friends became her friends, how her favorite songs became his. He even tried to paint once, a clumsy, frustrating attempt that ended with more paint on him than on the canvas. He wrote about her laughing, a sound that he described as the purest, most honest sound in the world. The entries are filled with little details that paint a vivid picture of their relationship. The way she would tangle her fingers in his hair when they were on a date, the smell of turpentine and oil paint on her clothes, the shared glances across a crowded room. You find yourself getting lost in it, a strange mix of emotions swirling inside you. There's a pang of jealousy, a quiet ache that he had this with someone else before you. But there's also a kind of fascination, a strange intimacy that comes from knowing this much about your husband's past. You're learning about the man he was before you met him, the influences that shaped him, the experiences that molded him into the person you love today. You find an entry from their first anniversary. He talks about giving her a small silver locket and how she gave him a sketch she had done of him, a quick, elegant drawing that captured not just his likeness, but his essence. You can almost see it, the way he would have looked at her, the pride in his eyes. The diary is a testament to a deep and genuine love, a relationship that was real and profound. You wonder if this is why he never talked about her. Maybe it was too painful, too sacred to bring up. The thought brings a fresh wave of sadness. He must have loved her so much, to have held on to these memories for so long. You turn a page, and the handwriting is more frantic, more emotional. He talks about an argument they had, the first real fight. It's about a choice she had to make, a scholarship to an art program in Paris, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He's scared of her leaving, of their beautiful world coming to an end. The entry ends with him saying, "I don't know what I'll do without her." You close the diary for a moment, the weight of their story pressing down on you. This isn't just a romance. It's a tragedy waiting to happen. You can feel the tension building, the quiet storm that's about to break. And you know, deep down, that the idyllic story you've been reading is about to take a turn. A turn that you, as the reader, are dreading. As you continue your deep dive into the diary, the narrative shifts from the idyllic romance to the challenges they faced. The entries become more complex, filled with the kind of emotional nuance that comes with a deepening relationship. You read about the small conflicts, the petty disagreements over things that don't matter, and the way they would always find their way back to each other. He wrote about a time they were supposed to meet, and she was late. Her phone was dead, and he worried for hours. He was angry at first, then relieved, and then felt foolish for ever doubting her. He learned to trust, to let go of his need for control, to be vulnerable. It's a side of him you recognize, but also a side that's been honed and refined over time. You read about their shared world, the quiet rituals and inside jokes that made their bond so unique. They had a secret handshake, a silly series of movements that they would do when they were alone. He wrote about a time they were at a party, and they locked eyes across the room and did the handshake in unison, a private moment in a public space. He wrote about the way she would make up stories about the people they saw on the street, giving them names and elaborate backstories. They would create their own little worlds, their own reality, in the midst of a city of millions. It's a beautiful, intimate portrait of two people completely in sync, two souls who found their other half. The diary entries are filled with these little snapshots, moments that feel both universal and deeply personal. He talks about their shared love for old movies, how they would spend entire weekends watching classic films, huddled together under a blanket, his head on her shoulder. He talks about their favorite song, a little-known folk ballad that he said sounded like the quiet comfort of an old friend. He even wrote about the way she would sing off-key when she was happy, a joyous, uninhibited sound that he found endlessly endearing. You find yourself smiling as you read, a bittersweet smile that feels both happy for them and sad for the inevitable end you know is coming. You also see the cracks in their perfect world, the first signs of the external pressures that would eventually pull them apart. He writes about his family, a close-knit and traditional group who didn't understand his relationship with an artist. His parents, he notes, wanted him to focus on his engineering degree, to get a good, stable job, to marry a nice girl who would be a suitable partner for a future executive. They saw Alara as a distraction, a flighty, impractical free spirit who would only lead him astray. He doesn't go into detail about the conversations he had with his parents, but you can read between the lines the frustration and pain that comes from having to choose between the people you loved. Alara's family, on the other hand, was an artist commune. They lived in a sprawling house on the outskirts of town, filled with paintbrushes, canvases, and the constant hum of creativity. They adored him, but he felt like an outsider, a sensible, practical man in a world of pure emotion and creative chaos. He felt pressure to change, to be more like them, to embrace a life he wasn't sure he was ready for. The diary is a testament to the quiet tension that existed between their two worlds, a subtle clash of values and expectations. It's not a loud, dramatic conflict. It's a low hum, a constant undercurrent that was slowly but surely eroding their foundation. You close the diary, a new wave of understanding washing over you. Their love wasn't just about two people meeting and falling in love. It was about navigating the complex, messy reality of family, expectations, and personal identity. It was a beautiful story, but it was also a story with a built-in deadline, a time bomb of sorts. The idyllic romance was a fragile thing, a beautiful glass sculpture in a world of hard, sharp edges. And you can't help but wonder, as you placed the diary back in the box, how long it would take for it to shatter. The mood of the diary takes a sudden, sharp turn. The light-hearted, romantic tone is replaced by a somber, almost frantic energy. The entries become shorter, more fragmented, as if the writer couldn't bring himself to put the full story on paper. He writes about a late-night phone call, a conversation with Alara that ended abruptly. He doesn't say what was said, only that it felt like the end of the world. The entries that follow are filled with a desperate search for answers, a frantic attempt to reach her, to understand what went wrong. He leaves her dozens of messages, goes to her apartment, calls her friends. But she's gone. She's vanished, leaving no forwarding address, no explanation, nothing but a simple, heart-wrenching note. "I'm sorry. I have to go." You read this, and your heart aches for the younger version of your husband. The pain is palpable, a raw, exposed nerve. He talks about the endless days that follow, a bleak, gray landscape of unanswerable questions. He doesn't sleep, doesn't eat. He walks around campus like a ghost, a hollowed-out version of the man you've just come to know through the pages of this diary. He talks about the way the world seems to have lost its color, how the songs they used to listen to now feel like a cruel joke. He writes about the ache in his chest, a physical pain that won't go away till he tries to find her. He calls her family, but they claim to know nothing. They say she left without a word, a sudden, inexplicable departure. You feel a pang of suspicion. Was it really that simple? Did she really just vanish? The story feels incomplete, a missing puzzle piece that keeps you up at night. He writes about going to their favorite spots, the coffee shop, the park bench, the rooftop where they used to watch the city lights. He sits there for hours, hoping she will appear, hoping it was all a terrible dream, a misunderstanding. But she never comes. The entries become a chronicle of his grief, a roadmap of a broken heart. He talks about feeling foolish, about being so blind, so naive. He says he should have seen the signs, the little things that suggested something was wrong. But there were no signs. It was sudden, an abrupt and devastating end to a love story that he thought would last forever. You can feel his desperation, his quiet despair. He talks about seeing her best friend, a girl named Sarah, but she says nothing, just looks at him with a sad, empathetic expression. The silence, he notes, is more painful than any explanation. It's the silence that tells him she knew something, that there was a secret being kept from him. He doesn't press her. He's too proud, too hurt. He just walks away, the chasm between them wider than ever. He writes about the feeling of betrayal, not just from Alara, but from the people he thought he could trust. The world he thought he knew is gone, and he's left to pick up the pieces alone. You close the diary, your mind reeling. The abruptness of the breakup, the lack of explanation, the suspicion of a deeper secret, it all feels so familiar. You've heard this story before, but with different characters. You know the pain of a sudden, unexplained ending. But the mystery of it, the missing piece, is what gnaws at you. Why did she leave? Why did she vanish without a word? And what was the secret that her friend Sarah was keeping? This isn't just a story about a breakup. It's a story about a betrayal, a wound that never fully healed. And you, as the reader, are now privy to a pain that your husband has carried for all these years. It's a heavy burden, a secret weight you now share. The diary entries grow sparse and distant after Alara's sudden departure. He documents his efforts to move on, to rebuild his life, but the pain is still there, a constant, low-level thrum beneath the surface of his daily routine. He graduates, gets a job, moves to a new city, but the ghost of Alara is always with him. He writes about a few dates, relationships that fizzled out, and you get the sense that he's still searching for her, or for some echo of the happiness he once felt. The entries are less about what happened and more about what he feels, a deep-seated sense of loss and confusion. And then, you find an entry from a year after their breakup. It's a short, almost casual note that completely changes the narrative. He talks about running into a mutual friend, Mark, who knew both him and Alara. He writes, "Mark told me the truth about what happened. My whole world just fell apart. The truth is worse than I could have imagined." And that's it. The entry ends there. It's a frustrating, maddening cliffhanger. What truth? What was worse than he imagined? You want to yell at the pages, to demand an explanation. But the next entry jumps to a different topic, a work project, a new friend. The revelation is hinted at, but never fully explained. You keep flipping, searching for a clue, a stray sentence, anything that might shed light on what Mark told him. But the diary remains silent. The secret is held tight within the pages, a mystery that you, as the reader, are desperate to solve. The note from Alara, the one you're holding, says, "I'm sorry for everything." The apology suggests she did something wrong, that she betrayed him in some way. But the diary entry about the truth makes you think otherwise. It's a fascinating and painful knot of contradictions. You find yourself rereading the entries from their breakup, looking for a sign, a hint of the secret that you now know exists. You go back to the entry about her best friend, Sarah, the one who gave him that sad, knowing look. You wonder if she was a part of it, if she was keeping a secret, too. And then it hits you. It wasn't a secret she was keeping. It was a secret she was helping him keep. He didn't mention it, but you realize that Sarah knew all along, and that's what he was referring to in the truth entry. Alara wasn't the one who betrayed him. Someone else did, and Sarah was helping to cover for them. The thought is a slow burn, a painful realization that changes everything. The love story you've been reading wasn't just a romance. It was a tragedy of misinformation and hidden motives. You start to think about all the times your husband has talked about his college years. He's always been vague about this period. He's talked about his friends, but he's never mentioned Alara. He's never mentioned her friend, Sarah, either. You start to see a pattern, a quiet omission that now feels like a deliberate act of protection. He was protecting himself from the painful memories, from the truth he had to face alone. You put the diary away, the weight of the secret now heavier than ever. You know you have to talk to him, but you don't know how to start. Do you just say, "Hey, I found this diary and a letter from your ex-girlfriend"? It feels clumsy, an invasion of privacy that you can't take back. But you can't just pretend you don't know. The knowledge is a wall between you, a silent barrier that makes you feel a million miles away. You're no longer just the person he loves. You're also the keeper of his past, the guardian of a painful secret that has defined a part of his life. And you know, deep down, that you have to be the one to open the door and let the truth out. The atmosphere in your house feels charged, electric with unspoken words. You and your husband are in the same room, but it feels like you're on different continents. You watch him as he reads the newspaper, completely unaware of the turmoil you're experiencing. The secret you're holding feels like a physical thing, a weight on your chest that makes it hard to breathe. You know you can't keep this to yourself any longer. The thought of confronting him is terrifying, but the alternative, living with this secret, this chasm between you, is even worse. You decide to start small, to test the waters. You bring up a casual memory, a story about a friend you haven't seen in a while. He smiles, a soft, easy smile that you've always loved. You feel a pang of guilt. You're about to disrupt this peace, this quiet happiness you've built together. But you also know that true happiness can only be built on a foundation of honesty. You take a deep breath. You know, you say, your voice a little shaky. I was cleaning out the attic today. I found a box of old stuff. It had a bunch of your old college books. You watch his face for a reaction. He doesn't flinch, just nods, a half smile on his face. He's not picking up on your subtle cues, your desperate attempts to find a way in. So you decide to be more direct. I also found a letter. You say, your voice barely a whisper. It was addressed to you. He looks up from the newspaper, his eyes questioning. A letter? From who? You don't say anything. Just walk to the drawer where you've hidden the letter and the diary. You pull out the envelope, the one with Alera's elegant script, and you hand it to him. His face, which was so open a moment ago, closes. A mask of guardedness falls over his features, his expression unreadable. He takes the letter, and for a second, he just stares at it, as if it's a ghost from the past. Where did you find this? He asks, his voice low. It was delivered yesterday. You say, your voice regaining a little of its strength. I opened it. I'm sorry. The words feel flimsy, inadequate. He doesn't say anything, just looks at the letter, then at you. His eyes are filled with a complicated mix of emotions, surprise, confusion, and something you can't quite name. It's not anger, but it's close. It's the pain of a wound being reopened, the shock of a past he thought was buried forever. You sit down next to him, the space between you feeling vast. He opens the envelope and reads the note. He looks at the photograph, his thumb tracing the faded edges. The quiet in the room is deafening. Finally, he looks at you, his eyes a little moist. You've never met her, he says, a statement, not a question. No, you say. I haven't. You take another deep breath. I also found a diary in the attic. I read that too. The air leaves the room. His face pales, and he looks at you, not with anger, but with a deep, crushing sorrow. You read it? He asks, his voice barely audible. Yes, you say, your voice firm. I know about Alera, and I know about the truth you found out from Mark. I know about Sarah. He puts his head in his hands, a sigh escaping his lips. I was going to tell you, he says, his voice muffled. I didn't know how. You reach out and touch his arm, a gentle, reassuring gesture. I know, you say, but now you don't have to. The conversation is a painful one, a long, difficult unraveling of a past that has been hidden for so long. You're ready for the flood of explanations, the long overdue conversation. But you can feel, in the quiet way he looks at you, that this isn't just a story about a letter. It's a story about trust, about forgiveness, and about the deep, abiding need to be fully known by the person you love. And you realize, in that moment, that you were right to open the letter. You were right to read the diary. Because the truth, no matter how painful, is the only way forward. The confession, when it finally comes, isn't a torrent of words. It's a slow, painful trickle, a piecemeal unveiling of a past he's kept locked away for so long. He talks about Alera, not as a past love, but as a ghost, a presence that has haunted him for years. He tells you his side of the story, the one that the diary hinted at but never fully revealed. He confirms everything you read, the idyllic beginnings, the shared world, the deep and genuine love he felt for her. And then, he talks about the end. He tells you about the scholarship to Paris, the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for an artist to study abroad. He said he was happy for her, truly, but also terrified of losing her. He was young and selfish, he admits, and he couldn't imagine a future where they were in different countries. He never told her that, not in so many words. Instead, he started to pull away, to put up walls, a quiet, subtle way of pushing her away before she could leave him. He thought if he broke up with her first, it would hurt less. It was a stupid, immature mistake, he admits, and one he's regretted ever since. He says he tried to talk to her, to explain his fears, but he just couldn't find the words. He was too proud, too afraid of looking weak. And then, he found out she was leaving earlier than he thought. He went to her apartment to talk to her, to say goodbye, to tell her he loved her. But she wasn't there. She was gone. She had left a note that said, "I have to go." The words, he says, felt like a punishment, a strange sentence for a crime he didn't even know he'd committed. You feel a pang of sympathy for him, for the younger version of your husband who was so wrapped up in his own fears and insecurities that he couldn't see what was right in front of him. You can see how a simple, honest conversation could have changed everything. But they were young and proud, and they both made mistakes. He says he spent weeks trying to find her, to get an explanation, but her friends and family were silent. He was left with the painful, hollow ache of 1,000 unanswered questions. He says he never fully healed from it. He carried the pain, the guilt, the regret, like a heavy burden. And when he met you, he says, he was finally able to let it go. You were the one who helped him forget, who made him feel whole again. He says he never wanted to talk about it because it felt like a betrayal to you, to the beautiful life you had built together. The thought of bringing up his past felt like an act of disloyalty. He says he loved you, and that was all that mattered. He looks at you, his eyes pleading for understanding. "I should have told you," he says. "I know that now. But it was just so painful to talk about. It felt like I was betraying us." You reach for his hand, your fingers lacing with his. "I understand," you say. "I do. I wish you had, but I understand why you didn't. But you should also know that the diary hinted at something else. It said you found out the truth from Mark. It said the truth was worse than you could have imagined. What was that?" The question hangs in the air, a final piece of the puzzle you're both trying to solve. He sighs, a long, weary sigh, and then begins to tell you the final and most devastating part of the story. The story he tells you is a painful one, a testament to the power of a single, devastating misunderstanding. He tells you about the conversation with Mark, the mutual friend you read about in the diary. Mark had been friends with both him and Alara, and he was the one who had been with her on the day she left. He saw her leaving, and he saw her leave the note. But the note wasn't meant for him. It was meant for someone else, for Alara's art professor. It was a note explaining that she was leaving for a surprise art residency, an opportunity that had come out of the blue. The note to him, to your husband, had been accidentally left behind at a coffee shop. It was found, crumpled, days later, and it simply said, "Liam, I'm sorry. I have to go to Paris. I'll call you as soon as I can. Love, Alara." The news hits you like a physical blow. A simple mistake, a misplaced note, was the cause of all this heartache. He tells you that Mark had been with Alara when she wrote the notes, and he had helped her with the envelopes. He had told her that the note to your husband was in her backpack, but he had been wrong. He found it later, crumpled up on the floor of the coffee shop. He was scared to tell your husband, to admit his mistake. He thought it would be easier to just let it go, to let your husband believe she had left without a word. He thought he was protecting them, protecting their friendship. He didn't realize that his silence was causing a wound that would never fully heal. He tells you about the agonizing realization, the painful, mind-bending fact that their entire breakup, all the heartache, all the confusion, was based on a lie. A lie of omission, but a lie nonetheless. He says he confronted Mark, and Mark admitted everything, tears streaming down his face, a desperate, honest apology that did nothing to soothe the ache in your husband's heart. He says he never spoke to Mark again. The friendship, a deep and long-standing one, was shattered by a single act of cowardice. He says he tried to find her again, but it was too late. He was a year too late. She was in Paris, a new city, a new life. He didn't have her address, her phone number. The world was a different place back then. There was no social media, no easy way to track someone down. She had moved on, and he had to too. He was left with the painful knowledge that their love story didn't end with a bang, but with a whimper, with a careless mistake and a painful silence. You listen, your heart aching for him. The story is so much more tragic than you had imagined. It wasn't a betrayal of the heart, but a betrayal of truth. A simple, honest mistake that had devastating consequences. You can see why he never told you. It's not just a story of a past love. It's a story of a painful betrayal, a raw wound that never fully healed. And now, with the arrival of Alera's letter, that wound has been reopened. He looks at you, his eyes filled with a fresh wave of pain. "I never thought I would hear from her again," he says, his voice a low whisper. "I thought it was all in the past. But she's asking to meet. I don't know what to do." The question is in his eyes. Do we go? Do we face this ghost from the past and finally lay her to rest? Do we open this old wound one last time and try to heal it together? The choice is no longer his alone. It's yours too. You sit with the weight of this new information, the story of the misplaced note and the silent friend. The details unfold in your mind, a clear picture of what happened so many years ago. It's a story of a painful misunderstanding, a simple mistake with devastating consequences. You feel a pang of sympathy for Mark, the mutual friend who kept the secret. You can imagine his fear, his panic, the moment he realized what he had done. He wasn't malicious. He was just a coward, a human being who made a mistake and was too afraid to admit it. Your husband, on the other hand, was a victim of circumstance. He was betrayed not by his love, but by the person he trusted. The pain he carried wasn't just the pain of a broken heart. It was the pain of a broken trust. He had lost not just Alera, but also his friend. The double betrayal, the loss of two important people in his life, was what made the wound so deep. You finally understand why he never talked about it. It wasn't a secret he was keeping from you. It was a secret he was keeping from himself, a memory too painful to face. You look at him, and you see the younger version of the man you love, a boy with a broken heart who never got to say goodbye. You see the pain in his eyes, the deep, abiding regret. And you know, in that moment, that you can't just let him walk away from this. The letter from Alera is not just a letter. It's an opportunity for him to finally get the closure he deserves. An opportunity for him to finally heal from a wound that has been festering for years. What does the letter say? You ask, your voice soft. He hands it to you, and you read it again. "I'm sorry for everything," it says. "I'm back in town for a few weeks and would love to see you, just to talk." All the old mistakes feel so small now. The words, which once felt like a threat, now feel like an olive branch. An invitation to finally put the past to rest. You look at him, a question in your eyes. "Do you think she knows?" He shakes his head. "I don't know," he says. "Maybe she doesn't know about Mark. Maybe she just thinks I never called her back. I don't know." The thought is a heavy one, a what if that has haunted him for years. What if she's been carrying the same pain, the same confusion, all this time? "You have to see her," you say, your voice firm. "You both deserve to know the truth. You deserve to finally close this chapter of your life." He looks at you, his eyes wide with surprise. "Are you sure?" he asks. "I don't want to hurt you." "You're not hurting me," you say. "You're healing yourself. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be here for you, to help you get the closure you need. This isn't about her and you anymore. This is about us. This is about us facing the past together." He takes your hand, his fingers lacing with yours. He nods, a single, decisive movement. "Okay," he says, "let's do it. But you have to be there with me. The words are a confirmation of your bond, a silent promise that you will face this together. And you know, in that moment, that your relationship is stronger than ever. It's a testament to the trust you've built, the love that can withstand a truth that has been hidden for so long. You're ready to face this ghost from the past, to finally put her to rest. The decision is made. You're going to meet her. The days leading up to the meeting are a mix of quiet anticipation and nervous energy. You and your husband talk about it, replaying the story of Alara and Mark over and over, as if to prepare for the conversation that lies ahead. The thought of seeing her, a ghost from the past, feels surreal. You wonder what she looks like now, if she's still an artist, if she's happy. You find yourself scrolling through old yearbooks online, looking for a picture of her. You find one, a small, black and white picture of her with her name written underneath. She has the same kind, intelligent eyes from the photograph. The sight of her makes your heart pound. She's not a monster, not a villain. She's just a woman from his past, a person who was a victim of circumstance, just like him, that he tells you that he's been thinking about what he wants to say to her. He wants to know if she's happy, if she's found what she was looking for in Paris. He wants to apologize for not being there for her, for not fighting harder for their love. He wants to know if she ever thought about him, if she ever wondered what went wrong. The questions are a testament to the fact that he's been carrying this pain for years, a silent weight on his shoulders. The meeting isn't about rekindling a flame. It's about finding a final, peaceful end to a story that was never fully told. You make the arrangements. Your husband sends a reply to Alara, a short, simple note that says, "I would love to meet. My wife and I are free this weekend. Let me know what works for you." The word wife is a deliberate one, a gentle but firm statement that he has moved on, that he has found a new life, a new love. Alara replies quickly, suggesting a quiet coffee shop in the city, a place they can talk without an audience. She says she's looking forward to it, that she has a lot to say. The anticipation builds. You choose a quiet, cozy coffee shop, a place with soft lighting and a calming atmosphere. You arrive a few minutes early, and you sit at a small, round table in the back. Your husband is a little fidgety, a little nervous. He's running his hands through his hair, a habit he has when he's stressed. You reach for his hand, and he squeezes it tightly, a silent thank you. You know this is hard for him. This is the moment of truth, the moment he finally gets to face the past he has been running from for so long. And then she walks in. You recognize her immediately from the picture. She looks older, of course, with a few lines around her eyes and a hint of gray in her hair. But she has the same kind, open face, the same soft, intelligent eyes. She sees your husband and her face breaks into a wide, genuine smile. For a moment, she doesn't see you. She only sees him, the man she loved so many years ago. It's a moment of pure, unadulterated emotion, a silent reunion that speaks volumes. She walks over to the table and extends her hand. "Liam," she says, her voice soft and a little shaky. "It's so good to see you." He stands up and takes her hand, a silent handshake that feels like an eternity. "Alara," he says, his voice a low whisper. "It's been a long time." And then she looks at you. Her eyes are filled with a complicated mix of emotions, surprise, curiosity, and a hint of sadness. Your husband introduces you, and you shake her hand. "It's nice to meet you," you say, your voice a little shaky. "I've heard a lot about you." The words are a little clumsy, a little awkward, but they are honest. And you know, in that moment, that this is the beginning of the end. The final chapter of a story that has been left open for far too long is about to be written. The initial awkwardness fades, replaced by a quiet, steady conversation. You sit there, a silent observer at first, as they catch up. They talk about their lives, their careers, the people they've become. Alara talks about her life in Paris, the art she's created, the places she's seen. She tells you about the success she's found, the joy of a life dedicated to her craft. You can see the passion in her eyes, the light that comes from a person who has found their calling. She seems happy, fulfilled. Your husband talks about his career, the family you've built, the life you've created together. He talks about his love for you, the quiet, steady happiness that has filled his life. He doesn't compare you to her. He just speaks of you with a quiet reverence, a deep and genuine love that makes your heart swell. The conversation is easy, a natural flow between two people who were once intimately connected and have now found their way back to a comfortable friendship. And then she brings it up. The reason for the meeting. "I want to apologize," she says, her voice low and serious. "I'm so sorry for the way I left. I know I should have called. I should have explained everything. I was just so overwhelmed. The residency was a surprise, and it was so last minute. I was so excited, so scared. I didn't know what to do." He nods. "I know," he says. "I read your note. The one you left for your professor. The one you meant for me." Her eyes widen in surprise. "How? How did you know about that?" He smiles, a small, sad smile. "I found out a year later," he says. "From Mark." Her face pales. "Mark?" she whispers. He didn't tell me he found it. I was so worried about you, about how you would react. I was a wreck." She shakes her head, a single, tearful shake. "I thought you hated me. I thought you never called because you didn't want to talk to me. I was so hurt, so confused." The truth, raw and painful, is finally out. You can see the relief in her eyes, the years of pain and confusion finally coming to an end. She looks at your husband, her eyes filled with tears. "I am so sorry," she says. "I should have tried harder to find you. I should have called you. But I was so proud, so afraid of rejection." Your husband reaches for her hand, a simple, comforting gesture. "I understand," he says. "We were young. We both made mistakes. I should have told you how I felt. I should have been honest about my fears. We were both afraid, and we both let that fear get in the way of our love." The words are a quiet testament to their maturity, to the fact that they have both grown, both learned from their past. The pain is still there, a ghost of what-ifs and could-have-beens, but it's no longer a chasm between them. It's a shared history, a common wound that they can finally heal together. The conversation continues, a quiet, tearful reckoning that feels both painful and cathartic. You sit there, a witness to the final chapter of their story, and you feel a strange mix of emotions. There's a quiet ache of sadness for what they lost, for a love that was destroyed not by a betrayal, but by a simple mistake. But there is also a deep sense of peace, a quiet joy in the fact that they are finally getting the closure they deserve. The air feels lighter, the weight of the past finally being lifted. You look at your husband, and you see the tension in his shoulders finally release. The ghost of Alara is no longer a ghost. She is just a woman from his past, a friend who he can finally say goodbye to. The meeting continues, a slow, gentle unburdening of a lifetime of unspoken words. Your husband and Alara talk about the years that have passed, the what-ifs and the could-have-beens. They talk about the paths their lives took, the twists and turns that led them to where they are today. The conversation is a quiet and reflective one, a final, peaceful goodbye to the love they once shared. There is no jealousy, no resentment, just a deep sense of understanding and a quiet sorrow for what was lost. Alara looks at you, her eyes filled with a kind, gentle empathy. "Thank you," she says, her voice soft. "Thank you for being here. It means a lot to me that you're so open and understanding. It takes a very strong person to be here, to be a part of this." You smile, a small, genuine smile. I love him, you say, looking at your husband, and I want him to be happy. This is a part of his story, and I want to be here to help him close this chapter. The words are simple, but they are true. You are here because you love him, and you know that true love isn't just about the present. It's about accepting the past, too. They talk about the end of their story, the moment they finally had to move on. Alara says she tried to find him, too. She searched for him on social media. She called mutual friends, but she never found him. She says she thought about him often, a quiet, lingering ghost in the back of her mind. He tells her the same. The years of silence, the unspoken pain, was a shared experience. They were both victims of a cruel twist of fate, a simple mistake that had devastating consequences. You see him finally let go. The tension in his body, the subtle guardedness you've always sensed in him, finally dissipates. He is no longer carrying the weight of the past. He is finally free. He tells her about the diary, the one you found in the attic, the one that you read. She smiles, a sad, knowing smile. I'm glad you kept it, she says. I was so afraid you'd throw it away. I was afraid you'd forget all the good parts. He shakes his head. I never forgot, he says. I just couldn't talk about it. The words hang in the air, a silent testament to the pain he has carried for so long. The conversation winds down, a quiet, peaceful ending to a story that began so long ago. Alara stands up, and she hugs your husband, a simple, heartfelt embrace that feels like a final goodbye. Thank you, Liam, she whispers. Thank you for everything. She looks at you, and she hugs you too. It was so wonderful to meet you, she says. You're a very lucky man. She looks at your husband, a genuine smile on her face. You found a good one, Liam. A really good one. The words are a gift, a silent blessing from the past to the future. She walks away, a quiet, graceful exit, and you and your husband are left alone. The air is different now. It's lighter, clearer, as if a storm has finally passed. He looks at you, his eyes filled with gratitude and love. Thank you, he says, his voice a low whisper. Thank you for being here. I couldn't have done that without you. The words are all you need to hear. You know, in that moment, that you made the right decision. You were right to open the letter. You were right to read the diary. You were right to face the past together. Because now, you are no longer just two people. You are a team that can face anything, a team that can overcome any challenge, as long as you have each other. The journey home from the coffee shop is a quiet one, but it's a silence filled with a sense of peace and a newfound closeness. Your husband reaches for your hand, his fingers lacing with yours, a simple, comforting gesture that feels more intimate than 1,000 words. He is no longer the guarded, reserved man you've known. He is open, vulnerable, and completely yours. The past, which once felt like a barrier between you, is now a shared experience, a part of your story, too. You find yourselves talking about it, replaying the conversation with Alara, finding new meaning in her words, new layers to the story. He tells you about his sense of relief, the feeling of a heavy weight being lifted from his shoulders. He finally got to say goodbye, to apologize, to tell her he never forgot her. He finally got to hear her side of the story, to understand that she wasn't a villain, just a young woman who was also hurt and confused. You talk about the power of a single moment, a simple mistake that changed the course of two lives. The misplaced letter, the silent friend, the years of pain and confusion. It's a testament to the fragility of human connection, the delicate threads that hold our lives together. You realize that your own love story, the one you've built together, is not just a beautiful romance. It's also a testament to the power of communication, of honesty, of the willingness to be vulnerable and open with the person you love. He tells you that he's a different person because of you. You taught him how to trust again, how to open his heart to someone completely. He says that the pain of his past made him a better man, a more empathetic, understanding man. It made him appreciate the love you share, the honesty and the trust that is at the core of your relationship. You realize that your love story isn't a separate narrative from his past. It's a direct result of it. Your love is the healing balm, the quiet comfort that finally soothed a wound that had been festering for years. You arrive home, and the house feels different, too. It feels lighter, brighter, filled with a new sense of peace. The air is no longer charged with unspoken words. It's filled with a quiet sense of contentment, a deep and abiding happiness. You make a cup of tea, and you sit on the couch, side by side, and you just talk. You talk about your hopes, your dreams, the future you want to build together. You've faced the past, and now you can move forward, stronger and more in love than ever before. That he looks at you, his eyes filled with a deep, abiding gratitude. "Thank you," he says again, his voice a low whisper. "Thank you for loving me. Thank you for being here." The words are a quiet promise, a silent vow that he will never keep a secret from you again. You know, in that moment, that this experience, which started with a single, innocent-looking letter, has brought you closer than you ever thought possible. You are no longer just two people. You are a single, united front, a team that can face any challenge, any storm, as long as you have each other. And you know, deep down, that this is just the beginning of your story, a new chapter that is being written right now. A chapter of peace, of healing, and of a love that is stronger than any secret. The days that follow the meeting are a testament to the strength of your relationship. The ghost of Alara is finally gone, replaced by a quiet sense of closure. You find yourselves talking about her without a hint of pain or regret, just as a part of your husband's history, a past that shaped him into the man you love today. The diary, the one you found in the attic, is no longer a source of pain or curiosity. It's a historical document, a chronicle of a past that has been finally laid to rest. You read it again, and you see the story not as a threat, but as a beautiful, sad testament to a love that was, and a love that is. Your husband is different. He is more open, more vulnerable, more present in your relationship. He is no longer carrying the weight of a painful past. He is free, and his freedom has brought a new kind of peace to your life. The trust you share is deeper now, fortified by the fact that you have faced a difficult truth together. You know that you can handle anything, as long as you are honest with each other. The secret, which once felt like a wall, has become a bridge, connecting your pasts and strengthening your future. You think about the letter from Alara, the one that started this whole journey. It was a simple piece of paper, a quiet invitation that turned your world upside down. But it was also a gift, a chance for your husband to finally heal from a wound that had been festering for years. It was a chance for your relationship to grow, to become something deeper and more profound. You wouldn't trade this experience for anything. It was painful, yes, but it was also a test, a trial by fire that proved the strength of your love. You find yourselves talking about the future, about your hopes and dreams, the life you want to build together. The conversation is no longer just about the here and now. It's about a future filled with honesty, with trust, with a love that is strong enough to withstand any storm. You are a team, a single, united front that can face any challenge. The journey was a difficult one, but it was worth it. It was a journey of healing, of forgiveness, and of a love that is stronger than any secret. And so, you close this chapter of your story. The book of the past is finally closed, the final page turned. The pages of your future, however, are just beginning to be written, and you know, with a deep and abiding certainty, that your story is a love story. A love story of two people who faced the past together and emerged stronger, more in love, and more complete than ever before. You are no longer just two people with a shared future. You are two people with a shared past, a shared history that has made your love stronger, more resilient, and more beautiful than you could have ever imagined. The journey was long, but it was worth it. It was a journey of healing, of forgiveness, and of a love that is stronger than any secret. You are a team, a single, united front that can face any challenge. The quiet settles in, a soft blanket of contentment. You can feel the story fading now, the vivid images of the past softening at the edges like an old photograph. The noise of the world outside has receded, and the only sound is the gentle hum of the refrigerator, a steady, rhythmic presence in the quiet house. You are no longer an observer in a story. You are home, in the warmth of your own bed, wrapped in a sense of peace. The characters from the tale are now just echoes, their pain and their triumphs a lesson learned and a journey completed. The weight of the world is no longer on your shoulders. It's a quiet, peaceful night, a time for rest, a time for dreams. Let your mind drift. Let the last remnants of the story fade away. Your journey is over for now. Your consciousness is your own. The night is yours. Sleep now, and may your dreams be filled with peace and quiet.